Something historic happened over the weekend with St. Louis City SC, and there is a decent chance that you missed it. For the first time in St. Louis City history, the club has won back-to-back road matches. Now, you would totally be forgiven if you expected this to happen in a year when St. Louis was chasing a Supporters Shield or an MLS Cup or a Leagues Cup or a CONCACAF Champions Cup or a U.S. Open Cup while we're standing in the stands drinking out of our bougie and somehow environmentally more friendly than a reusable plastic bottle Yeti cup. Stay bougie, St. Louis. No, it's happening in probably the most miserable season in St. Louis City's short existence. Yes, somehow even more miserable than 2024, if you can believe that. It's so miserable, I didn't even do a watch-along for it, partly because I had life stuff going on, but also because I didn't think anyone cared. It was a 9:30 start to watch a now former wooden spoon contender.
It's a late start time to see a team that has routinely disappointed us this season on the field, off the field. And when I mentioned that I was not going to do a watch-along tonight for the game, the overall feeling that I got from you, the fans, is, so what?
Which means my watch-alongs for 2025, as we know them, are done. There won't be any more for the rest of this season. Maybe ever. Thanks to my channel partner, Pat Connolly Tavern, I'll be having a live get-together for the final St. Louis City away game at Austin on October 4th. We'll hang out at the bar at Oakland and Tam in beautiful Dogtown, watch some soccer that won't be as bad as we thought it might be, and enjoy some $3 Michelob Ultras because Pat Connolly Tavern is a City on Tap bar. Join us and give back to a worthy cause with a suggested $5 cover charge to Cardinal Glennon on behalf of Florida Cure. Now, we had little faith that this run would even happen. It started with a 3-2 embarrassment in late August to Houston Dynamo that left the supporter section looking a little bit sparse at the end. Then there was that FC Dallas game where St. Louis somehow squandered over 40 chances, not this one by Celio Pompeu, but these last two, where we made a third stringer look like prime Thibaut Courtois. Quite frankly, I'm surprised I'm even making this video after that game. So we went into this 2-game road trip with absolutely zero momentum whatsoever and a general feeling of just get this season over with, okay? We got business to handle in the offseason. How are you feeling about tonight? How are you feeling about Montreal? Again, I've been kind of numb to this team for a while now. I'm picking 1-1. You can just tell I'm brimming with confidence here that we're going to get a result in Montreal, but gosh darn it, we did. I just got a FOTMOB notification. Shot blocked. Rebound. Let's go.
To give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has been written.
That's a good pass to Klaus. He's free. Good pass back to Hardo. I got it. Yes.
Yes.
Kane, the one that goes to games, is live. How you feeling, Kane?
Well, I'm feeling good. I wanted at least one goal that counted for Montreal, but I'll take what I can get. 6 City wins. Wow.
I mean, you got to see something very rare today, Kane. A road win for St. Louis.
This is my first road win I've ever seen. I'm just realizing.
Now, granted, this was a win against a wretched Montreal team that is somehow a bigger mess than us, and we might even be taking their former sporting director as well. More on that in just a bit. But that Montreal win sent us into a difficult road test against a San Jose Quakes club that needs all the points it can get as it chases a playoff spot. Something that St. Louis was going to do this year, right, Carolyn?
We have to make the playoffs, hands down.
We have to make the playoffs, hands down.
We have to make the playoffs, hands down. We have to make the playoffs, hands down.
And that's when the world got introduced to Brendan McSorley, getting an eyebrow-raising start and making the most of it with a MLS Team of the Match Day performing 2 goals and an assist. Berkey made some massive saves as well, and St. Louis actually got a 3-1 win over the Quakes, which means...
That's called a winning streak. It has happened before.
And you know what? When you have nothing left to lose, we can look at our sudden road winning streak and have this sort of demented smile like we just got done with 2 hours at the DMV, or when we see Anthony Marcanic scoring a goal in not City Red. But back to McSorley for a minute and why I think it's important that players like McSorley get playing time. According to the latest MLS roster profile, City has upwards of 21 players that have contracts expiring at the end of the year. All but 4 of them have option years, those 4 being Roman Berkey, Ben Lunt, Selmer Pedro, who is surely gone, and Devin Padelford, whose loan runs out. I want to see these 21 players make a case for why they should be back in 2026. For some players, it might be a futile effort because they've already proven themselves to be inadequate at the MLS level or maybe just not the right fit. But then you have guys like McSorley who do need to make a statement by proving they do belong in MLS. Now, McSorley has proven he can do it on a cold, rainy night in Ventura County in MLS Next Pro, but the gulf between Next Pro and MLS is large, and sometimes too large for players to make the jump. Makai Joyner, another example of a player that has absolutely crushed it in City 2 and needs more playing time to prove that he belongs at the MLS level, even though he is someone that is locked up for the foreseeable future as a homegrown player through the end of 2028 at least. We've already seen the likes of Yaziel Orozco, Jay Reed, Michael Wenzel, and Seth Antwi getting big roster contracts, but not being in the reckoning on the roster as the season winds down to a close. Do they factor into 2026? Now, if I were the sporting director with those 4 guys I just mentioned, I probably don't count them in. In fact, Orozco's already back playing City 2 minutes because he can't crack the matchday roster on the big roster. But of course, Critchley has to put them in the lineup in the first place. Tomas Totland is signed through 2026, but he's been persona non grata lately for St. Louis City in favor of a better performing Conrad Vollum, who has an expiring loan deal himself that probably won't get its purchase option triggered just simply because it's way too expensive for St. Louis. It's a $5 million price tag is what I've heard, and at that price, I'm sorry, Conrad Vollum, you're not a DP level player. You're a good player, not a DP level one though. But what's even more baffling is why JGR and Joey Zielinski were loaned out, 2 players that have active roster contracts and need to prove themselves at the MLS level. Hell, JGR is even eating up one of our 4 under-22 initiative slots, for God's sakes. But when I look at the roster makeup and see some of the names and how they're slotted, this is an absolute mess, and hopefully the new sporting director is ready to scrub. Oh, and apparently there's 2 rumored names for that, by the way. Brentford technical director Lee Dykes is reportedly on the short list for the position. Lee has been with the Premier League side since 2019 and has been able to guide the smaller resource London club into a Premier League mainstay. He previously was at English lower league sides Carlisle United and the dead and buried, Bury. Neither club really jumps out at you, but when you look at what he's done at Brentford, you can't help but be impressed. The Athletic did a great article 4 years ago on how he's been building Brentford, and some things really jump out at me. For one, he wasn't afraid to change the club culture to one of togetherness instead of having selfish players. 3 of those players, Neil Maupay, Ali Watkins, and Saeed Benrahma, were signed for a combined 9.8 million British pounds and then were flipped for 77 million British pounds to bigger and better landing spots. Dykes Analytics helped him discover Brian Mbeumo, a promising youngster playing for French second division Troyes. Mbeumo was a record signing for Brentford at the time at 5.8 million pounds, and Mbeumo rewarded that faith by bagging 65 goals in 222 games at Brentford, and Manchester United just threw 71 million pounds at Brentford to sign him. And I bring up Mbeumo in that trio I mentioned before that sold for big bucks earlier because St. Louis has to become a type of club that Brentford is. We're not a destination. We just aren't. But Brentford is a club that plays in the nation's top flight and has to develop players into bigger signings elsewhere in order to finance more players' signings to develop into bigger signings down the road and just start a perpetual cycle like that. St. Louis needs to be that, and I think it's a process that Lutz Pfannenstiel tried to develop himself when he raided Nordic and Central Europe like he did, but the results were a mixed bag, and nothing really splashy outside of somehow Jedi mind-tricking Como into paying a few $1 million for Nico Gioacchini, who can't even break into the lineup at mighty Asteris Tripolis in Greece nowadays. And then there's this rumor from our friends at Ball Watching that St. Louis City is looking at former CF Montreal director of soccer Corey Ray. Ray wasn't with Montreal for even a year before being let go this year, but don't let that fool you. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson could fix Montreal with the way that organization is heading. He literally was let go for a couple nepotism hires. Before Montreal, he spent 4 years as an assistant GM at Columbus Crew and did good work there for the main club, as well as being the GM of Columbus Crew 2. And he helped guide them to an MLS Next Pro championship over St. Louis City 2 in 2022, with St. Louis and Patrick Schulte proving himself to be a brick wall that deserved MLS minutes. Ray helped discover Schulte, as well as reportedly being behind the signings of Jason Russell Rowe and Mo Farsi, two players who have turned out to be quite solid additions for the Crew, who won 2 MLS Cups in 2020 and 2023 during his time there. Before Columbus, Ray spent 13 years at Toronto FC, working his way up from intern all the way to assistant GM. So he was seen as a rising star in MLS up until his Montreal hire. Now, Ray is someone that does appear to have that MLS pedigree in him, and while he has limited experience in a sporting director-like role, he's still in his 30s, and again, Montreal is a hot mess, and most Montreal fans reacting to his sacking earlier this year were more angry than relieved about it. Dykes or Ray, no matter which is the hire or whether they go somewhere else, like Ray is reportedly rumored to be Sporting KC's next sporting director as well, either one would be a pretty exciting signing if either one becomes a reality. But while Dykes' overseas credentials are impressive, he does not have MLS experience, and as we saw with Lutz Pfannenstiel, that can be a tough translation. Whereas I wouldn't mind having a sporting director that does know MLS in and out, and Ray being available now and with his experience building organizational depth and spotting up-and-coming young talent might just be the perfect timing both St. Louis and Ray are looking for. Now, I do have a feeling that with all these contracts coming up, the club is not going to have any more patience in finding the right guy and will bring in a sporting director sooner than later. It just makes too much sense to get this done right away. Then, of course, comes hiring a manager after that as well, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. Now, I know many of you are feeling apathy towards this club and the way the season has gone, and I get that. I'm actually with you there. But we're actually setting ourselves up for a stretch run where players are going to be desperate to earn that contract in 2026, as well as setting up an even more torrid offseason where I'm probably going to have a stroke with all the new player signing videos that I'm going to be doing. And pretty soon, the way I even do St. Louis City content is going to change, and where I do it is going to change. The way I recently did my Lutz Pfannenstiel video, for instance, where I got more fans involved, that's a bit of a hint as to the direction I want to take my St. Louis City content going forward, but it doesn't tell the whole story. I promise I'll tell you that story towards the end of this season. Do the last 2 weeks of this season give you hope that it won't be the Baton Death March we've been making it out to be? Or are you just waiting on that final whistle so we can get all these changes going? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more soccer-related content like this. Again, the way I do St. Louis City content is going to change, but Soccer Zombie will live on in just a kind of a different form going forward. And thank you to the Zombie Ultras who keep this channel going. I really do appreciate your support and hope to see many of you at Pat Connolly Tavern on October 4th. And of course, thank you to the supporter section as well, the 99-cent club that have been there from the start. This is your Soccer Zombie, Tom Franklin, and I'm actually debating doing a little video on Heung-min Sung and LAFC coming to town Saturday for the Korean Derby. Like this bandana, by the way. Really, the gal did a great job with this. But I hope it's a better video than the last LAFC game that I did. I got to be on the field for that one last year, and that was about the only good thing that happened.